In January of 2020, I bought myself this wonderful book by Loomis in the hopes that it would make me a better artist. And my initial plan was to read it from cover to cover and then go back and put some of what I had read into practice. But I soon realised that art books are tools to be used and not books to be read. They are quite dry in their delivery, especially this one. And so I decided that I needed to pause between chapters and try out some of the exercises for myself. And because I am typically not a semi-realist artist, I decided to start with some cartoons. So I drew my cat Motley to begin with. She is looking a little alarmed here. And then I drew this girl who I liked a fair bit. So this was in January, and I was inconsistent, so I would pick up my pencil maybe once every couple of weeks and just try and practice what I had learned. And then in April I drew this girl. She was my first attempt of trying to play around with proportions and these bigger cartoony eyes, and it did not go so well. And as you can see, this was in April of 2020. Things happened around that time. The COVID apocalypse was one major one. But this year I am determined to get back into making art. So I have enrolled myself in YouTube University. I have watched as many YouTube videos on drawing heads as I could manage. I have bought myself a brand new sketchbook. It's a Moleskine, and I plan to spend the next 7 days learning how to draw heads, practicing it consistently, and seeing if and how much I improve. So let's get on to day one. One of my favourite YouTube professors right now is Bobo Andanova. I apologise if I'm saying her name incorrectly, but if it's any consolation, she probably doesn't know how to pronounce my name correctly either. It's Anarbon, by the way. And what I like about her tutorials, which aren't tutorials, is that as well as showing you how to proportion the head and how to put the features of the head in place, she also has a second video in which she talks through the exercises that she found most useful for helping her improve in drawing heads. And one of the exercises she mentions is drawing the Asaro head. And if you're not familiar with what the Asaro head is, it's a model showcasing the planes of the head, and it was created by Mr. John Asaro, I believe. And it's a really useful tool in helping you to draw in multi-dimensions and not draw flat faces. And so I decided that since in my past I had just dove straight in and drawn human faces, I decided to start with the Asaro head and see where that took me. And as you can see, I struggled. All the proportions I'm drawing here are from memory, from what I remember from my Loomis book and from YouTube tutorials that I had watched in the past but not recently. And while all the elements are in place, the faces look weird. I think too early on I was playing around with facial proportions before I'd actually known how to draw accurate facial proportions. And you see that in the first head, the eyes are far too big and the nose too small, and he just looks weird. So by the time I got to this head number 4, I think I'd realised what I was doing, and I got more into drawing a proportionate head according to what it was meant to look like. And my plan for each day was to draw a minimum of 7 heads, and to draw front-facing, profile, three-quarter view to the right and three-quarter view to the left, one looking up and one looking down. Obviously, the looking up and the looking down were the hardest, and I think at this point I was just getting really frustrated because I could see how bad it was all looking. So I gave up on the old Asaro head and I moved on to YouTube professor number 2, Piper's Art. I really enjoy her art style, and I found her tutorial very accessible. And I realised that just drawing these shapes of the head was a little disheartening, really soul destroying, so I decided to allow myself to put in some facial features copying a lot of Piper's art style right now because I am working on my style. I plan to work on facial features later on and figure out what I like and what I think looks good in my hand. And so you see, I decided to do front-facing profile view. If you're thinking, why is the light different? This was later in the night. Baby boy was asleep by now. This is my midnight drawing session. And these I don't think they didn't go too bad. Even what I had seen of, what I had drawn of Asaro was helping my head communicate with my hands. Rewatching Piper's tutorial was helping. And then we get to Mr. Three-Quarter View. I should say Miss Three-Quarter View. I know many YouTube artists say that the Three-Quarter View is their favourite view. The Three-Quarter View is my least favourite view. I always end up with squishy head. But because I'm a glutton for punishment, I decided, because Three-Quarter went so well, let's try Looking Up View. It did not go well. I lost everything I'd learned. I got a flat face. I decided to carry on because when I find things hard, I decided to go ahead and do an even harder thing. So I decided to try Looking Down View, and yeah, it even pains me to do this voiceover and watch this back because I don't know what happened to her. She was supposed to be a girl. She looks like a hairy hobbit with a squishy face, but that was my day one. I decided to end with a three-quarter view to try and end on a high. Again, I ended with a squishy face, so that was a poor plan. But it definitely helped stepping away from generic planes of the head and drawing actual faces. So there you have it, day one, and more than 7 heads. I think I drew 13 heads total. So because drawing from Piper's art went so well the other day, I laughed, but it actually did. I decided to go back and re-watch Professor Number One, Bobo's, I'm so sorry, videos and follow it step by step, and I did, and this front-facing girl, she looks okay. But what I can see now, and what I do recognise later on with my three-quarter views, and I can even see it now with this profile view, my chins are too high. I'm not giving enough space between the nose and the chin. I think that's why I end up with squishy face, who, foreshadowing, you're going to see a lot of in the remainder of this video. And actually, this first profile, I don't hate. I don't mind the distortion of her jawline. I just wish that I'd done it on purpose, because I know that I did it accidentally. It makes me dislike it more. But here, this first three-quarter girl, and you can see I tried to fix it, but this is a prime example of my chins are too high up. I'm just not giving enough space between the nose and the chin. It's not a true third. It's like a half of a third, a sixth. I didn't do maths. I'm a humanities and artistic person. And this chin is slightly better, and you can see she has slightly less squishy face. And I don't know exactly what I did, but I managed to make her look like her whole face was facing the right way. And then because I thought I was doing so well, I guess, with my three-quarter views, I decided to do a three-quarter view looking up. And she's angled up, but everything else about her is not quite right. But a bit of shading fixes everything, is what I guess I envisioned at this point. That's day 2. 2 other practice techniques that Bobo mentioned is the head in the box technique and the mask method. So for day 3, I decided to try some head in the box, see if it helped me with my perspectives and angles better, and I actually think it did. Look, she's not a squishy face, she's three-quarters and not a squishy face. So because that went so well, I decided to try looking up again and see if I could figure out something with that. And yeah, it didn't go badly either. I need to work on my facial features, but we're not there yet. We're still just working on the generic head proportions. But this character looks like they're looking up. It's quite an extreme angle because I didn't really follow a reference. but it works. So now looking down, and for some reason, I don't know how to draw characters looking down. I think I need to do 7 days of characters looking down because they're just not working for me. They end up with these tiny weird heads. I don't know what's happening, but I gave up on this girl and decided to try some mask method and see if that might help. So the mask method is essentially the same as the box method, apart from you imagine that the human face just has a blank mask wrapped around it, and you use that as your frame of reference. And I didn't expect the mask method to work for me, but it did. I think of the 2 methods, I found the box method more useful in especially helping me to get those side planes of the human head, but I would definitely do more practice of both methods and see how they work, especially with these more unique angles, front facing, side facing. Apparently I'm getting the hang of, but any kind of tilt, be it to the right, to the left, be up or down, it's a struggle for me. And yeah, so I would highly recommend trying the head in the box technique and the mask, and even finding, I will YouTube and link them if I can find them, even finding more in-depth videos, tutorials that go through them, and finding them in books and seeing how they work in books. I especially like this girl because I've been drawing so many blank stares and so many dead eyes, and she looks a bit mischievous, and so yeah, I enjoy her. Now that her perspectives are working better, she's got a good little mischievous look. So that was day 3. So we made it to day 4. If this was a regular week, Sunday to Saturday, that's how week goes, this would be Wednesday, this would be hump day. I don't think I did it in a regular week like that, so I don't know what day this is, but this is our hump day. And for some reason I decided to go back in time, and I decided to come back to the planes of the heads, but do them the Loomis way, which was a bit simpler. It did not go well, so I have speeded up this footage to like double the speed of the other footages, and yeah, we'll just speed right through day 4 because yeah, it felt like a setback. It should have been a move forward, but it felt like a setback. I'm just gonna be honest. After the disappointment of day 4, I decided that day 5 I was going to go back to the drawing board. So I found my 3rd YouTube professor, whose name I can't remember right now, but I will add a link to their channel so you can watch their video as well. And I decided to try yet another way of proportioning out the head to get the perspectives correctly. And I decided to adopt a hybrid of what I had borrowed, shall we say, from Piper's art style, what I had borrowed from Bobo's art style. I decided to do a hybrid of drawing real facial features with the planes of the head, which resulted in quite some scary looking robotic heads, but I wouldn't mind coming back to this for some character creation, because it's quite a fun way of doing the heads. Oh, there's Motley. Bye, Motley. And yeah, and this was a much better day. It made me feel a lot better. And I have some lost footage. I don't know where that is, of doing more head studies. Maybe I've added it to another day by accident. But I decided to focus on what I know I do well, so I drew 3 front-facing heads to make myself feel better. That was kind of my warm-up. Then I decided to move on to side-facing, and already I can see that chin is too small. I need to do larger chins. Again, I don't mind this face, it looks stylized, but it wasn't stylized purposefully. So I need to figure out how to make it look normal, in quotation marks, and then stylize it. Even though her chin is still small, she's a bit better, but I think I was like, I'm not going to depress myself with these small chinned profile views. Let me move on to a big forehead 3/4 view. It's squishy face, and I think squishy face is a result of small chin, and this is something that I didn't realise when I was in the trenches drawing these. But now, this is why it's sometimes good to look back on your art and look back at yourself doing it, because sometimes your brain isn't communicating with your hands fast enough. She actually doesn't look too squishy faced, and I think I elongated her chin just a smidge, and it makes a world of difference. And oh yeah, for this day I also allowed myself actual references, which is fun, which made life a whole lot funner, and also helped me. It allowed me to imbibe the slightest bit of personality to these characters, and also showed me how the position of the ear changes and how the closeness of the nose to the eye changes. But I come with a heavy sigh because it's a downward facing face, and props to me that I keep trying to draw them. I just don't get any better at them. So, you know, hopefully in a few videos time, a few months time, I can come back and do some downward faces and they'll look better, but this is not the video for that. Nope. But the models are beautiful. Thank you, models. And we persevere, we go on. And this was day 5. 2 more days. Day 6 was a fun day because I built myself a Pinterest page of references and allowed myself to just let loose with the references and see what happened. So it was fun because I got to draw some actual human faces. I wasn't focused at all on trying to make my images look at all like the faces. I wasn't focused on trying to imbibe any kind of emotion or facial expression. This was all just about creating heads that looked like heads and getting the facial features in the right places and getting them looking somewhat proportionate with some stylization to it. So you see all their necks are pretty small, all their heads are pretty large. But yeah, it was a fun day with varying degrees of success, but I got to put everything that I had learned into practice and just have fun with it. So I am not going to really talk too much about this day because I'm kind of getting sick of the sound of my own voice, so I'm just going to let the music play and just let this be a speed draw day. I came back because I just wanted to say that I really enjoy the haughty expression that came out of my first upward facing picture on day 6, head number 3. I enjoy that haughty expression that came because I wasn't trying to draw that expression, it just came naturally. So that was a fun little happy accident. It's day 7, it's the final day, wahey! For some reason on day 7 I decided to go backwards again and try out the Reilly method. So despite not using his books, kicking it to the wayside pretty much, I have been following the Loomis technique because that's the general technique that most people use, and if not Loomis then just this general rule of thirds kind of technique. But because YouTube algorithm now knows what I'm after, Reilly method popped up and the algorithm, and I decided, why can't I speak? Reilly method popped up on the algorithm and I decided to give him a go. So if we go back in time and I follow, again I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, I will link it in the bio. I followed his description of the Reilly method. Sorry, that's just me finding the podcast to listen to while I watch this, while I draw. And it worked for me. You see that we don't have a squashy face. This guy actually has a chin. It's my first time. It's not my first time drawing a man, but it's a man who doesn't have a squashy face, so it worked for me. Thank you, Reilly method. This was another day in which I allowed myself to use references of real pictures, which also helped because I think it helped me see that people have chins. I need to allow people to have chins and not give them squashy faces. And yeah, so that was really helpful for me. And even this profile guy, he has a chin. So yeah, so I decided to draw some more front facing because that's my comfort zone. This guy has a chin, but he has no plectrum. He has no space between his nose and his mouth, so that's unfortunate. I also can't tell if they are male and female, but I guess for the intents and purposes of this exercise it doesn't matter. I'm just drawing generic heads, be they male or female. I like this one. I like this angled looking up one. I've become somewhat comfortable with looking up now, and although the mouth lacks dimension, I do like it, and I do like the side eye that this character is given. So on day 7, after 7 days of drawing all these heads, how many heads did I draw? I'll flash the number on the screen, I need to count, but I think it may have been about 54 heads. So after 7 days of drawing 54 heads, what did I learn? Well, it sounds completely common sense, but I learned that practice really does make progress, that drawing the same thing again and again really helps you to see what you're doing wrong, to see where to improve, and to improve your eye and how to draw things. I learned that I don't completely suck at art, that I can get better, and that while some people do have an innate talent, most of us will just get better with time and practice, and so I just need to do my best to try and put some more time and practice into this. But yeah, there you have it, 7 days of drawing heads. I will put a little showcase reel of all the days so you can see my improvement, or lack thereof, over the days, but I think I did improve somewhat. And yeah, it was a good exercise, and I hope to do more of this, especially working on my facial features and creating some differentiation and some personality and character in them. Anyway, this video is already far too long. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!